The Galactic Council, a vast alliance of powerful alien races, watched over the entire galaxy with cold, calculating eyes. They governed with strict rules, ensuring no species would ever rise above their control. To them, Earth and its inhabitants were nothing more than a primitive, unimportant species, hidden away in a corner of the galaxy. Humanity, with its flawed technology and messy world, seemed like no threat at all. The Council was made up of the most advanced and dangerous civilizations, each more powerful than the last. But there was one thing they feared: a species capable of uniting and discovering ancient powers. They had seen signs, signals from the past, but no one had believed that such a race could exist. They thought the idea was ridiculous. After all, Earth was still in its infancy, playing with fire in the form of weapons and technology, unaware of the powers hidden beneath its soil. In a dark chamber, high above the Council's central headquarters, the leaders of the Galactic Council gathered. Their forms were not like those of humans, but they were just as dangerous. Some had multiple eyes, others had long, twisting limbs, and some didn't have physical forms at all, just a presence in the air. They all sat together, each with their own unique way of observing the world, but one thing united them: fear of the unknown. A deep silence fell over the room as the Council's highest-ranking member, a creature known only as the Executor, spoke. His voice was like a rumble of distant thunder, his words sharp and direct. Humanity is growing. They are no longer just a nuisance. We must deal with them before they awaken something dangerous. They are on the verge of discovering something ancient. At the mention of ancient, a wave of unease passed through the room. The Ancient Ones, long forgotten, were a mystery even to the Council. They had built a weapon so powerful, it could have destroyed entire civilizations. The Executor continued, his tone unwavering. It is clear. Humanity must be eradicated before they awaken the arsenal their ancestors left behind. There was no hesitation. This was the only choice. The alien races who made up the Council had already eliminated hundreds of species in the past, ensuring their dominance. But something about humanity troubled them. Earth's people were unpredictable. They were not like other species who bowed down in fear. They'd fought, they survived, and they did it in ways that the Council couldn't always predict. Another Council member, a reptilian figure with scales that shimmered like glass, raised a clawed hand. But what if the ancient weapon doesn't exist? What if it's just a myth, a story created by the humans themselves? Her voice was cold, but there was a hint of doubt in it. The Executor's eyes narrowed. We cannot take that chance. Their scientists are already digging into their past. They are too close. If they find what we think they will, it will be too late for us. A third member, a being made entirely of shifting light, chimed in. If they unlock this weapon, they could destroy us. They are still primitive, yes, but their potential is growing. We have seen their rapid technological advancements. They are more resourceful than any species we've encountered. The room fell silent again. The weight of the decision was heavy. The Galactic Council had never taken a step back when it came to securing their control. Their power was too great, and their rule over the galaxy had been unchallenged for eons. But the thought of humanity suddenly becoming a threat, something that could rival their might, was an idea that unsettled them all. Finally, after a long pause, the Executor spoke again, his voice soft but deadly. We must act swiftly. We will send a fleet to Earth. They will be given one chance to surrender. If they do not, we will eliminate them completely. No mercy, no negotiation. Humanity must be erased before they can even understand the power they are about to unleash. A murmur of agreement spread through the room. It was a simple plan. Destroy humanity before they could become a threat. The Council had done it countless times before, to countless other species. This was no different. But one member, a tall, slender figure who had remained silent until now, spoke out. And if we are wrong? What if humanity has no such weapon? What if we are simply reacting to a false fear? The executor's eyes flashed with cold fury. "We cannot afford to be wrong. The Council has spoken. The decision is final." And with that, the fate of humanity was sealed. The Council's fleet would move toward Earth, with orders to destroy everything in their path. They would leave nothing behind. No evidence, no survivors, no trace of humanity's existence. Little did the Council know. In the ruins of an ancient city buried deep beneath the surface of Earth, something had already begun to stir. For centuries, the weapon had remained dormant, hidden from those who would seek to control it. But the time had come for it to awaken. As the Council's plans set in motion, a human scientist named Dr. Harper unknowingly stepped into a world that would change everything. She had always believed humanity was destined for more. And now, she would be the one to uncover the truth, one that the Galactic Council could never have imagined. The decision was made. Humanity was marked for destruction. But what the Council didn't know was that they were about to awaken a power that would not only defend humanity but lead it to an unimaginable revenge. Dr. Harper's mind raced as she stared at the ancient blueprint sprawled across the cold stone table in front of her. It wasn't like anything she had ever seen before. The design was both elegant and terrifying, a combination of shapes and symbols that didn't belong to any known civilization. She had been working on this project for months, digging through ruins, deciphering old texts, and following leads from a long-lost era. And now, after all her research, she was holding the key to something bigger than herself, or humanity. She wasn't just uncovering lost history. She was about to unlock a forgotten power that had been buried for thousands of years, a power that could save humanity, or destroy it. The images in the blueprint seemed to pulse with energy, almost as if they were alive, calling to her. She ran her fingers over the strange markings, her mind trying to make sense of the intricate patterns. Something about the design seemed familiar, yet foreign. She had studied ancient artifacts before, but this was different. There was an undeniable sense of danger in the air, as though the very room she stood in was aware of her presence. Behind her, the rest of her team continued their work, completely unaware of the significance of what was unfolding. They had no idea what she had found, or that humanity's survival now rested in her hands. Dr. Harper's thoughts raced. She couldn't shake the feeling that this was all too much for her to handle. She was just a scientist, after all. What right did she have to unlock a weapon that had been designed to protect an ancient civilization, a civilization far more advanced than anything humanity had ever known? But then again, the Earth was on the brink of destruction. If she didn't act, humanity would be wiped out by the Galactic Council and their fleet, which was already heading toward Earth. No one else had the knowledge or skills to decipher the blueprint. She steeled herself, making a decision that would change the course of history. "I have to do this," she whispered to herself, her voice barely audible. Without another thought, she activated the ancient machinery. The room shuddered as the dormant systems powered up. There was a low hum that filled the air, followed by a strange vibration that ran through the floor. It wasn't just the machine that was awakening. Something much older, much deeper, was stirring. It was as if the entire planet itself was remembering a time long past. Dr. Harper's heart raced. The systems flickered to life on the large control panel before her, and strange symbols began to appear on the screens. For a moment, she thought she saw something. No, someone, move behind the glass panels of the ancient chamber. The shadowy figure seemed to fade in and out of existence, its face a blur. But it was real. She knew that much. She had read about the myths of the ancients, the mysterious beings who had once controlled unimaginable power, but she never imagined they would have left a message for humanity, let alone a living presence within their technology. Suddenly, a voice broke the silence. It wasn't in any language she knew, but somehow it reached her. She understood it. The voice was soft at first, like the rustle of leaves, but then it grew louder. "Bloodline, recognized. The time has come." The voice seemed to echo from the walls themselves. Dr. Harper froze. Her hands trembled as the words continued. "You are the last. You will awaken what was lost." The voice faded, but the machine did not stop. Instead, it continued to power up, its energy levels rising at an alarming rate. Dr. Harper felt a surge of heat radiating from the central core of the chamber. She looked down at the blueprint again. The designs had changed. They were now glowing with an eerie light, pulsing like a heartbeat. She could feel the power in her chest, as if the machine was alive, breathing in sync with her own heartbeat. Before she could react, the lights flickered, and a strange metallic sound echoed through the room. The machinery was no longer just a tool. It was connected to her. Somehow, she could feel the weapon's power in her veins, its energy coursing through her like a flood. It wasn't just a machine. It was alive, and it had recognized her as its user. "You are the chosen one." The voice again. This time, it was clearer, more distinct. Dr. Harper felt a strange weight settle over her. She was no longer just Dr. Harper, the scientist. She was something more. The weapon had chosen her, and she now had to face the responsibility of controlling it. But what exactly was she controlling? And why her? These questions flooded her mind, but she pushed them aside. The stakes were too high. The Galactic Council was coming. If she didn't act fast, humanity would be doomed. The machines hummed louder now, and Dr. Harper knew she had no choice but to follow through. She pressed a series of buttons on the control panel, initiating the final sequence. The room shook violently as the weapon began to take shape. Massive doors opened, revealing a colossal structure, hidden deep beneath the surface for centuries. It was a ship. No, not just a ship, but an entire fleet of vessels, each one built for destruction on an unimaginable scale. Dr. Harper felt a chill run down her spine. The Council had no idea what was coming for them. The ancient arsenal, the weapon that humanity's ancestors had left behind, was now awake, and Dr. Harper was the one who would wield it. She turned back to the control panel, knowing that time was running out. The countdown had already begun. The Galactic Council's fleet was on its way, and the fate of Earth rested on her shoulders. "Humanity won't fall," Dr. Harper whispered to herself. "We'll show them what we're capable of." As the last of the ancient systems activated, she felt a surge of power, raw, untamed, and ready to strike. The battle for Earth had only just begun. The skies above Earth darkened, and the air grew thick with tension. Dr. Harper stood in the command center, her eyes glued to the screens that showed the approaching alien fleet. They were almost here. The Galactic Council, with its unimaginable power, was about to arrive, bringing with it death and destruction. Dr. Harper's heart raced in her chest. The ancient arsenal, now fully awakened, pulsed with energy, waiting for her command. But she didn't know if she was ready. Could she truly wield such power without losing herself? The weapon she had unlocked was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Ancient, alive, and infinitely dangerous, it was both a blessing and a curse. As the days passed, Dr. Harper's mind began to feel the weight of the choice she had made. The weapon wasn't just a tool, it was a living entity, connected to her in ways she couldn't understand. Its power grew stronger with each passing moment, and she could feel it in her bones, almost as if it were whispering to her. "Are you sure about this?" A voice called out, snapping her from her thoughts. It was Captain Ruiz, one of the last commanders of Earth's defense forces. He had been working alongside Dr. Harper, but even he could sense the growing unease in her. He didn't know the full truth of the weapon's power, but he knew enough to understand that they were on the brink of something far bigger than themselves. "I don't have a choice," Dr. Harper replied, her voice steady but unsure. "We're out of time. The Council will arrive within hours, and we need to be ready." She turned back to the large console in front of her. The countdown had begun. 12 hours. That's all they had before the Galactic Council arrived in full force and launched their invasion. She had made the decision to awaken the arsenal, but now she was beginning to realize just how dangerous it truly was. The weapon, once dormant, now hummed with an energy that seemed to pulse in time with her heartbeat. She could almost feel its power growing stronger, its presence filling her mind. "Should we activate the weapon now?" Captain Ruse asked, his voice laced with concern. Dr. Harper hesitated. The weapon was ready to fight, but was she? She was just one person, one human, standing against an entire fleet of aliens. She could feel the weight of responsibility crushing her, but there was no turning back. She had seen what the Council was capable of. Entire worlds had been destroyed by their fleets, and Earth would be no different if they succeeded. "I'm activating it," she said, her voice firm this time. "It's the only way." As she pressed the final sequence on the control panel, a massive pulse of energy shot through the air, lighting up the darkened skies above the facility. The ground trembled beneath her feet, and for a moment, she thought the entire planet might shudder in response to the power now flowing through the weapon. "Let them come," Dr. Harper whispered under her breath, her hands trembling as the weapon's energy surged. "We will fight." In the deep silence that followed, she watched the screens as the weapon's power built. The vast fleet of alien ships, now only hours away, remained unaware of the storm that was gathering beneath their feet. Earth was not the helpless, primitive world they had assumed it to be. Humanity had a secret, and it was more terrifying than they could ever imagine. Meanwhile, in the war room, the leaders of Earth's military forces gathered, preparing for the inevitable invasion. The general, a grizzled veteran named Jackson, paced nervously as he looked over the maps and intelligence reports. "If we don't stop them here, we're finished," he muttered. "We've got no chance against their firepower, not without the arsenal." "And we got no choice but to trust Dr. Harper," Ruse replied, his voice a mixture of doubt and hope. "She's our only hope now." Dr. Harper's face appeared on the large screen in the middle of the room, her expression determined, though the exhaustion in her eyes was clear. "The weapon is ready," she said, her voice calm but firm. "But it's not enough to just activate it. We need to coordinate our forces, synchronize our attacks, or the fleet will tear through us before we even have a chance." Jackson nodded grimly. "We'll do everything we can, but the rest is up to you. If that weapon doesn't work, we're done." Dr. Harper swallowed, feeling the immense weight of his words. She had no doubt the weapon could destroy the alien fleet. The question was whether she could control it, and whether the power within her was too much to handle. On the surface, the situation was growing more dire by the minute. The first wave of enemy ships appeared in Earth's orbit, their sleek, terrifying forms blocking out the stars. They weren't just here to invade. They were here to wipe out humanity, to erase them as though they never existed. Dr. Harper's breath caught in her throat as the screen showed the alien ships positioning themselves for the final strike. Her hand hovered over the activation button, the pulse of the weapon's energy echoing in her mind. 10 minutes, Captain Ruiz's voice called out, breaking the silence. "We need to move now." Dr. Harper's fingers shook as she looked at the countdown clock on the screen. The weapon's energy was reaching its peak, but was she ready to unleash it? In that moment, she realized something. The weapon had chosen her, not because of her strength or her brilliance, but because of her heart, the unyielding desire to protect humanity at all costs. And it was that same drive that would carry her through. "I'm ready," Dr. Harper said, her voice filled with a newfound determination. "Let's show them what humanity can do." With a final press of the button, the weapon came to life. A bright, blinding light erupted from the core of the arsenal, and in the next instant, a shockwave of energy swept through the planet. The skies lit up with the brilliance of raw power as the ancient weapon unleashed its might. The countdown had ended. The war had begun, and humanity was no longer weak. The first wave of alien ships shattered the calm of Earth's atmosphere like a hammer striking glass. Massive, sleek vessels, their surface covered in dark, metallic armor, descended from the stars in perfect formation. From the vantage point in the command center, Dr. Harper and her team could see it all on the monitors. The ships were enormous, each one capable of wiping out entire cities with a single blast. Their weapons were beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. Yet humanity had something they did not: the ancient arsenal. Dr. Harper's heart pounded in her chest as she watched the ships break through the clouds, casting dark shadows over the planet. The weapon she had unleashed thrummed with power, resonating deep within her. She could feel its energy stirring, waiting for her command. "This is it." Captain Ruiz's voice broke the silence in the room. "The first wave is entering the atmosphere." Dr. Harper glanced at the countdown clock. They had only minutes before the fleet would be upon them. She turned toward the control panel, her hand hovering over the activation sequence for the weapon. The energy from the arsenal was nearly at its peak, a swirling mass of power ready to tear through the alien fleet. "Activate it," Ruiz urged, his voice steady, though a nervous edge lingered in his tone. Dr. Harper nodded, her fingers moving with purpose. As she pressed the button, a blinding surge of light erupted from the center of the facility, and across Earth's surface, the weapons systems activated. Far below the surface, hidden deep beneath the mountains, enormous structures began to hum to life. The ancient ships, sleek and deadly, rose from their buried slumber, ready to face the invading alien fleet. On the monitors, Dr. Harper saw the first signs of the weapon's power. From every corner of the world, long-dormant defenses were awakening. Massive cannons that had been buried for millennia now emerging from the earth. Energy shields, unseen and undetected by the invaders, sprang into existence, enveloping entire cities in protective domes of light. The ground itself shook as massive weapon platforms, once hidden beneath mountains, rose to the surface. They were no longer just relics of a forgotten civilization. They were humanity's last hope. "Activate all defense protocols," Dr. Harper commanded, her voice cold with resolve. In the sky, the alien ships opened fire, their weapons blazing in a series of deadly arcs toward Earth's surface. But the moment their energy beams collided with the defensive shields, the air erupted in a dazzling explosion of light. The alien weapons had no effect. The shields held strong, their energy crackling and flaring, absorbing the assault with ease. "Direct hit. They're not penetrating the shields," Ruiz reported, a mixture of surprise and disbelief in his voice. "The weapon's working. It's actually working." Dr. Harper didn't allow herself to smile. Not yet. The real battle was just beginning. The alien fleet, now aware that their initial attack had failed, regrouped in the skies above. Their ships moved in perfect synchronization, ready to strike with overwhelming force. But Earth's defenses were not only holding. Humanity's arsenal was beginning to retaliate. Without warning, massive beams of energy shot out from the newly activated weapon platforms, cutting through the sky like lances of pure power. The alien ships, caught off guard, were struck with pinpoint accuracy, their shields flickering and faltering under the intensity of the blasts. One by one, they began to fall, crashing toward Earth's surface in a deadly rain of fire and debris. "Direct hits on 2 enemy ships," Ruiz reported, his voice tinged with awe. "They're going down." The enemy fleet retaliated, launching a barrage of missiles toward Earth's surface, but humanity's weapon systems countered with deadly precision. Explosions rocked the sky as alien projectiles collided with Earth's defenses, but the shields absorbed the blows, and the retaliatory fire from Earth's weapon platforms continued, relentless and unforgiving. On the ground, the Earth's defense forces moved into action, their soldiers and vehicles mobilizing to strike back. Though outnumbered, they were armed with advanced weaponry powered by the energy of the ancient arsenal. Their mission was clear: protect humanity at all costs. Every soldier knew they were fighting not just for their homes, but for the survival of their species. Inside the command center, Dr. Harper watched with a mix of determination and dread. The weapon she had activated was working, better than she had ever hoped. But she knew this was just the beginning. The Council would send more ships, more soldiers, and their full might. She could feel the growing pressure of the situation. Humanity had fought back, but would it be enough? We can't hold them off forever, Dr. Harper murmured to herself, her eyes scanning the screens. They'll adapt. They'll find a way. The ground rumbled as another wave of alien ships appeared on the horizon. This time, their forces were much larger, more powerful. The true assault had begun. The fleet above Earth was now in full formation, preparing for their second strike. But what they didn't know was that humanity had a secret. The ancient arsenal was not just a weapon, it was a network. Hidden deep beneath Earth, in the ancient cities, more power was still waiting to be unlocked. Dr. Harper's mind raced. She needed to buy humanity more time. She needed to push the weapon's power to the limit. She could feel the weight of responsibility on her shoulders, but she didn't hesitate. She gave the order. "Prepare the final phase of activation," she commanded. "We need everything we have." The weapon's systems responded with a deep, resonating hum. The ground trembled once again, and from deep within the planet's core, a massive structure began to rise. It was enormous, a city-sized warship that had lain dormant for millennia. The final phase was activated. The true power of the arsenal had been unleashed. The alien ships above Earth saw it. Their scanners detected the massive energy signature, and they immediately recognized the threat. But it was too late. As the colossal warship rose into the sky, it fired its first shot, a beam of pure, concentrated energy that ripped through the alien fleet with devastating force. The tide of battle was turning, but Dr. Harper knew this war was far from over. The Council would not be defeated so easily. The real fight had only just begun. And as Earth's ancient weapon systems powered up for the final battle, Dr. Harper couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's survival would depend on something more than just technology. It would depend on the strength of their will to survive. The war had begun, but the true test of humanity's spirit was still to come. The skies were filled with fire. Earth's defenses had taken the fight to the alien invaders, but despite the early victories, the battle was far from over. Alien ships, now battered and burning from the earlier assault, regrouped in the sky above, reorganizing their forces with cold precision. Earth's ancient arsenal, unleashed in its full fury, had begun to shift the balance of power. However, Dr. Harper knew that victory was still far from certain. The gigantic warship, which had emerged from the depths of Earth's core, hovered above the battlefield. Its surface shimmered with raw energy, its weapons ready to tear through the remaining enemy forces. But even as it fired its devastating beams, Dr. Harper could see the alien forces adapting. They were learning, evolving their tactics. They had underestimated humanity, but now they would fight harder. "We've lost 20% of our defenses," Captain Ruiz reported from the command center. "The enemy's regrouping. They're not going to give up without a fight." Dr. Harper's gaze was fixed on the monitors as she watched the alien ships reorganize, retreating, and then circling back for another wave of attacks. The sheer scale of the invasion was overwhelming. The alien fleet was vast, and they weren't just here to conquer. They were here to annihilate. Their goal was to wipe out humanity, to erase them from existence. And they weren't going to stop until they succeeded. "We can't keep up with them forever," General Jackson's voice cracked over the intercom. "We've pushed them back, but they're still coming." "What's the plan, Harper?" Dr. Harper's mind raced. The final phase of the arsenal was in motion, but she wasn't sure it would be enough. The ancient warship that had risen from the depths of Earth was powerful, but it was also vulnerable. She had seen it in the data. The warship's energy levels were quickly draining as it expended its firepower. She had to think fast, or they would lose everything. "Activate the last reserve," Dr. Harper said, her voice steady despite the growing pressure. The core weapon. The core weapon was the final, most dangerous part of Earth's arsenal, hidden beneath the planet's crust for millennia. It was a device of unimaginable power, so powerful, in fact, that it could completely wipe out an entire fleet. But there was a catch. The weapon was unstable. It was a last resort, a doomsday device that had been designed as a fail-safe in case the galaxy ever faced an invasion of this magnitude. Activating it would not only destroy the alien fleet, it could also destroy the planet itself. "We don't have time to hesitate," Dr. Harper added, her voice growing more intense. "If we don't use it now, we lose everything. There's no other choice." Captain Ruse's face tightened with fear. "Are you sure? We'll risk destroying Earth." "There is no Earth if we don't win this," Dr. Harper replied, her mind made up. "Activate it. Now." As the final sequence of the weapon's activation was initiated, the ground trembled beneath their feet. The entire command center shook violently, as if the Earth itself was waking from a deep slumber. Energy began to pulse through the facility, flooding the system with power. The monitors flickered with images of the alien fleet, preparing for their final assault. In orbit above, the alien ships were forming their final attack formation. They were confident. They had underestimated humanity's ability to fight back. But now, they believed the war was all but over. They would crush Earth's resistance and claim the planet for their own. The Galactic Council had sent their mightiest forces, and they were sure of victory. But what the aliens didn't know was that Dr. Harper had one last card to play. As the core weapons systems powered up, Dr. Harper's hand hovered over the activation panel. Time seemed to slow. She glanced at the monitors one final time, seeing the alien fleet moving in for the kill. She thought of everything humanity had fought for: their families, their homes, their future. And then, with a deep breath, she pressed the final button. The core weapon unleashed its full power. A blinding explosion of energy erupted from the Earth's surface, racing up toward the sky with terrifying speed. The shockwave blasted through the alien fleet, sending ships spiraling out of control. The explosion was like nothing the universe had ever seen, an immense, unstoppable force that ripped through space itself. The alien ships, caught in the blast, were torn apart. Some disintegrated on contact, their hulls and weapons vaporized by the sheer intensity of the weapon's power. Others were thrown off course, their systems overloaded, crashing into one another in chaotic destruction. For the first time since the invasion began, the alien fleet faltered. But the cost was devastating. The energy released by the core weapon was so immense that it sent shockwaves through the planet. The ground cracked, the sky lit up with violent flashes, and entire regions of Earth shook violently as if the planet was fighting back. The weapon's power was too much to control fully. It was destroying the enemy, but it was also pushing Earth to its limits. "Report," Dr. Harper shouted, her voice urgent as she gripped the edge of the control panel. "Enemy fleet has been crippled," Captain Ruse replied, his voice full of awe. "They're retreating. We've won, but the weapon's energy is. It's overwhelming the core. It's destabilizing." The ground continued to shake beneath them, and Dr. Harper could hear the faint sound of alarms blaring in the background. The planet was still reeling from the shockwave, and the weapon's power was continuing to spiral out of control. Earth had won the battle, but it had come at an unimaginable cost. Dr. Harper's heart raced. The weapon had worked. It had stopped the alien invasion. But now she had to make a choice. The core weapon was on the verge of tearing the planet apart. It was only a matter of time before Earth's very core was destabilized by the energy surge. "We've got to shut it down," Dr. Harper said, her voice low and filled with urgency. "Now, before it's too late." With the alien threat gone, Dr. Harper and the remaining survivors of Earth's military forces rushed to the core facility. But as they approached the core, Dr. Harper knew one thing for certain: humanity had survived. The ancient arsenal had fulfilled its purpose, but it had come at a great price. The war was over, but the future of Earth would never be the same. And for Dr. Harper, the weight of her decision, activating a weapon that had saved them but nearly destroyed everything, would haunt her for the rest of her life. Humanity had won, but the price of victory was one they would never forget. The battle had ended, but the scars of the war were just beginning to show. Earth had survived, but it had not come through unscathed. The blast from the core weapon had torn through the atmosphere, creating a massive ripple of destruction across the planet. Entire cities had been obliterated in the wake of the explosion, leaving vast stretches of wasteland where once there had been vibrant life. Yet the alien fleet was no more. Humanity had won, but the victory felt hollow. Dr. Harper stood at the window of the command center, staring out over the wreckage. The sky was still filled with the lingering aftereffects of the weapon's blast, streaks of light and smoke that blotted out the sun in places. The air smelled faintly of burnt metal and ozone. The Earth was damaged, but alive. The alien ships had been scattered, their shattered remnants still drifting in orbit, now nothing more than debris in the cold void of space. "We did it," Ruse said, his voice quiet as he approached her. "We saved Earth." Dr. Harper turned to him, her face grim. "Did we really save it, though? At what cost?" He looked away, unable to answer. He, too, felt the weight of the destruction. They had defeated the alien invaders, but they had nearly destroyed their own world in the process. The weapon they had used, the last reserve of Earth's ancient arsenal, had been both their salvation and their curse. It had decimated the alien forces, but it had also sent the planet into a spiral of devastation that would take years to recover from. "We'll rebuild," Ruiz finally said, though his tone lacked the certainty it once had. "We have to, for those we lost." Dr. Harper nodded, but her mind was far from the comforting thoughts of rebuilding. She had seen the damage firsthand. The cities that had once been teeming with life were now nothing more than ruins. And the human cost of the war was far higher than anyone had expected. Countless lives had been lost. Whole populations had been wiped out in a single strike. It was a tragedy that couldn't be undone. "The real question," Dr. Harper said, her voice steady but filled with doubt, "is what happens now. The Council might have been defeated, but their influence is still out there. There will be others who come, others who seek to conquer. We've opened a door, and it won't be easy to close it." Ruiz paused, glancing around at the remaining soldiers and engineers who had fought to protect Earth. They were exhausted, their faces drawn with the weight of the last few days. They had been through hell, and now they stood at the precipice of an uncertain future. The war might have been won, but the threat was far from over. "We'll fight," Ruiz said firmly. "We'll fight for our future." The door to the command center opened, and General Jackson walked in, his uniform covered in dust and dirt. He had been on the front lines, coordinating the defense forces during the invasion. His expression was grim, but there was a glimmer of resolve in his eyes. "I just received a report," Jackson said, his voice low. "The Council's forces are retreating. We've confirmed their retreat, but there's something more." Dr. Harper's heart skipped a beat. "What is it?" Jackson hesitated before continuing. "It's not just the Galactic Council. We've intercepted communications between several different alien factions. They knew about the core weapon. They knew we had something powerful here. The invasion wasn't just a random attack. It was a test." "A test," Dr. Harper repeated, her mind racing. "A test for what?" "For what we have left," Jackson said. "The power we unlocked here, it's caught the attention of every major force in the galaxy. They know Earth has something they want. And now that they know it's possible, they'll come back. And next time, they'll come with everything." Dr. Harper felt a chill crawl down her spine. They had thought the war was over, but now they understood that it was just the beginning. Earth's survival was no longer in their hands alone. It had become a beacon, a target for every conqueror in the galaxy. The weight of it all hit Dr. Harper like a physical blow. They had saved the planet, but now they would have to defend it, not just from the remnants of the Council, but from every power-hungry race in the universe who would come seeking the weapon they had unlocked. "This isn't over," she whispered, her mind spinning. "It's just starting." The room fell silent as the truth of her words settled over them. The fight for Earth had only just begun. The survivors, the ones who had fought so hard to protect their planet, now faced a new and terrifying reality. They were no longer just fighting for their home. They were fighting for their very existence. And the worst part, they had no idea what horrors the galaxy had in store for them. As the days passed, the team worked tirelessly to repair the damage caused by the core weapon. The war had been a victory, but Earth was far from safe. They had learned the hard way that the power they had awakened came at a heavy price, and the universe would never forget the potential threat they now posed. Dr. Harper sat alone in the quiet of her office, staring at the holographic map of the galaxy. The once invincible Galactic Council had fallen, but in its place, 1,000 new dangers loomed. It was only a matter of time before the next wave of invaders came to test Earth's defenses. And this time, the weapon wouldn't be enough. The galaxy had taken its first step toward realizing just how dangerous Earth could be. And soon, the next wave would come. Earth had awakened an ancient power, and now, it was their turn to face the consequences. The war was over, but Earth was not the same. The aftermath of the core weapon's detonation had left deep scars, both on the planet's surface and in the hearts of its survivors. Humanity had won, but the victory was bittersweet. Now they faced a future filled with uncertainty. In the weeks following the battle, the world was in chaos. The once thriving cities were now ruins, and the landscapes were marked by the destructive power of the ancient arsenal. The global population had been decimated. Every nation had lost countless lives, and the world's leaders now faced the monumental task of rebuilding. Dr. Harper stood once more in the command center, staring out at the rebuilding efforts through the shattered windows. The landscape outside was a testament to the damage they had endured. There were survivors, yes, but the scars of the war were impossible to ignore. "Dr. Harper," a voice called from behind her. It was Captain Ruse. His face was still lined with exhaustion, but there was a quiet determination in his eyes. "The first round of communication from the Galactic Council's remnants has been received.